wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show, and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show.
This episode is sponsored by Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency.
All right, I'd love to welcome to the show David Stauffer. David from Lucidchart, creative director there. Excited to have you on the show. You've been on the show once before, I think. Looking forward to digging into a campaign you've run that's just had some huge success. Love to have you introduce yourself in Lucidchart.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, like you said, my name's David Stauffer, creative director at Lucidchart. People probably are familiar with us either because they've looked for a Visio alternative or they need to diagram something and they found us, or they have seen our Doggo kind of explainer videos if you're into the internet meme culture, which I think we'll be talking a little bit about today. But yeah, Lucidchart, the company, we're based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm currently in Sacramento. I'm based out of there personally. But yeah, I help run our creative campaigns, and I've been at the company for the past 5 years.
Well, I think this is the true definition of a creative campaign. So I'd love to dig into the Doggo diagram video and the whole campaign, kind of from start to finish. Can you walk us through, like, what is the Doggo diagram? If somebody hasn't seen it, if they're crazy enough not to be one of the 110 million views you guys have gotten, what is it, and where does it come from? Where did this idea come from?
Yeah, you bet. So the video itself it's a short 60-second kind of fast-paced, frenetic video where we explain what the term doggo and pupper means. So this is kind of what we believe to be a niche corner of the internet that is this kind of doggo culture. And it's maybe not so niche as we've come to find out. But the video it's just a video diagram where we explain these terms and what they are in kind of a funny, I think, on-brand way in terms of it's very, I guess, emblematic of the kind of meme culture, the people that speak in this doggo lingo. We kind of tap into that culture in this video. So yeah, it's a video diagram. Now, where the idea came from is a really interesting question. We have a creative philosophy that we at Lucidchart that we've executed in a number of campaigns where we want to showcase our product like kind of front and center in a fun and entertaining, way. For example, we did these lyrical flowchart campaigns that were basically to, take a popular song, diagram out the lyrics to the song. And it's a fun piece of content that people are viewing when in reality, they're actually getting a product demo of the way Lucidchart works, how the editor looks. And so we tried to take that base idea and apply it to several different, topics or different ways you can execute on that. And that's where the Doggo diagram idea came from, was let's explain these kind of random corners of the internet that have gone kind of semi-viral and use a diagram video as a to do that.
Now, your product is obviously very visual. So it's, this is a natural place for you guys to be showing off the actual view of the product. I don't think so many are as fortunate as you guys. But talk to us about where the idea for, like, why Doggo in particular, because this is more than just dogs. Like, we're talking much more niche down here. And how, that's not a business culture. You're talking about internet culture. You're much broader. You're looking at a much bigger scope. Why there? Why did you guys go there instead of saying, like, let's diagram a sales process?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Most B2B companies, their video marketing will be very straightforward, feature focused, benefits focused, and those are really important and have their place. But I found that in the B2B space, people think you can't really have fun in the marketing, that you can't do the things that traditionally B2C companies do with these fun advertisements. When in reality, I think humor and comedy and fun, that's relevant to B2B just as much as it is to B2C, because these are still individuals that are making these decisions. Like, if you can make someone laugh and introduce them to your product, that doesn't have to be just a B2C thing. And so it kind of starts there with this philosophy I have of thinking, we don't have to make just the feature focused videos or what I would call a little bit more stuffy, not as fun, but that we could use the same tactics that have been successful in B2C marketing. So it kind of starts there. Now, in terms of the Doggo stuff, it's interesting because we actually started a Slack channel at Lucidchart. I call it the Bad Ideas Slack channel. And we invite anyone in the company to give us ideas for, specifically in this case, video. We wanted another campaign and we were looking for ideas from throughout the organization. And, we have a creative team, the team that I manage, and we produce, all of our content, and a lot of the ideas come from the creative team. But I make it a point to reach outside of that team for other ideas. And it was actually an engineer, a software engineer, that was really familiar with the kind of the Doggo speak, that whole meme culture. I actually wasn't all that familiar with it. And he had posted in our Slack channel saying, "What about doggos?" And he told us all about it. Our senior manager of video marketing, who runs the video team in the kind of the creative department, he ran with the idea and started mocking up the kind of the first iteration of it and showed it to me. And it was clear to me pretty early on that we had a kind of a golden idea here. And then he saw that through to execution. So that's actually where the Doggo idea itself came from, was internally from an engineer, and we just ran with it.
What a phenomenal lesson for those of us who are thinking about creative, from like, all right, branding, marketing, like it's all owned by one department. I love this idea of openness, and that the best ideas can come from an engineer. You just wouldn't expect that. So fantastic. I love that.
Oh yeah, it's great. Best idea wins is kind of, our mantra. And that's happened multiple times. Now, from beyond doggos, which is where it all kind of started, we kind of grew that to other animal catos and other snecks and burbs. And then we're really kind of scaling the campaign to be even bigger than just the animal kingdom. So since then, we did a similar explainer video on the Fortnite video game. We did one on Star Wars relationships using diagrams
Love
to, show. Wars. Okay, so that's one that I'm a big Star Wars geek myself. And so me and another member of the creative team kind of helped co-write that one specifically, which I'm actually immensely proud of. Nice. And then we just recently released our first international version. We did one in Spanish for the World Cup. And so what started with doggos, I kind of hope begins to become like Lucidchart explains XYZ, or Lucidchart explains the internet.
I think it's so great because it does highlight your product in such a clever way. I mean, it's not like you just came up with a clever video and slapped your logo at the beginning and slapped it at the end with a call to action. I mean, this is just a really clever way of showing how a diagramming tool can do so much, and how you can look at processes, and how you can really dump your brain out onto the computer using your tool. And I think it's really clever. I use Lucidchart regularly for mapping my own like sales processes, much more boring stuff than Doggo. But I think, so I shared a video recently, and I think is actually how you and I got connected, about using Lucidchart. And I just shared it because I love the tool, and it got quite a good traction on LinkedIn. I think there's just this desire for this visual component being tied back to product. There's a lot of products that could be doing this. I don't see really very many people doing that. I mean, there's so many cool things we could be doing to showcase these products. Have you seen anybody else kind of take up the staff and like keep going with this outside of Lucidchart anywhere?
I haven't. In terms of using their product, in terms of
like the visual
content marketing way. Yeah. I haven't. Like you said, it's a little bit easier for us given the visual nature of our product. I haven't seen anyone do quite what we have yet. I think it's only a matter of time. I mean, we've gotten over 110 million views off this campaign on what I would consider a shoestring budget, very little ad spend. And so, I would expect people to begin to adopt this way, both visually in terms of their product, but to your point about how really it's a commercial and they don't really realize it. I think so many commercials, people try to come up with really, really clever content or just a really funny idea, and then they just kind of shoehorn in their brand or their product, like references, just to make sure people know, what product they're trying to sell, where we don't really have to do that here because it's right there front and center. We just mention it right at the very end, and it's like, surprise, it's like this is our product you've been watching all along.
Today's growth story revolves around search engine marketing. Delphix, a big data platform, had hired an agency to manage their Google ads a few years ago, but they weren't seeing the results they wanted to see. Being such a technical B2B solution, they set out to find a team that could take on their challenge. After countless proposals, they found the perfect fit: Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. In just 1 week after launching Directive's campaigns, Delphix saw their lead volume double and their cost per lead drop by 60%. I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
So you guys had this one first like clear hit. And how did you go to the next one? And then how do you go to like 10 more? You're talking about the full animal kingdom and beyond. It all started with a single video. How did you get from there to here?
It did. Yeah. It was funny. It really went viral overnight, which is funny on the first one. We just really, we made this, kind of on the side in addition to everything else we were doing. We didn't expect this to be some big campaign. It was, it was over a 3-day weekend, which is funny because I just remember waking up, I think it was on a Saturday, and someone had messaged me about the video getting shared thousands of times or going viral. And in fact, someone had ripped it and actually cut off the end of it where it mentions our brand. And that ripped version started going viral. So it was funny because that first weekend we really I had to like, it was like damage control in terms of finding, all the versions out there and then trying to make sure it was clear, like which one was ours. And so that's where it all kind of started. And, credit to, again, our senior manager video marketing. His name's Caleb. He's the voice of the doggos. He does the, all the animating and putting it together. And he's just done a terrific job on this campaign. I mean, really incredible work. But it got to the point where he couldn't do it on his own. I mean, we have so much video work we need to do. No, he can't. I mean, we were trying to. We were certainly headed in that direction. And so we've begun to actually scale the team. So we've had a couple new people join our video team, and we'll continue to scale that so we can continue to do both, not just the fun flowchart videos, but our regular product videos that we need as well. So we've begun to hire that more and more, and like I said, we'll continue to scale that as long as we're continuing to get traction, which has been the case. I mean, there's really no signs of slowing down.
That's excellent. I love that leadership at your company as well is interested in kind of expanding from here and continuing to grow and letting you guys run with this, even though it's maybe more of a dotted line to revenue, right? It's awareness, it's certainly driving brand awareness to a massive degree, but not like, hey, there's a lead capture form at the end of this video. I think this is a great lesson for all of us. There's not a lead capture form at the end of the video saying like, if you'd like to try a Lucidchart, type in your name here and we'll have a sales rep call you. I mean, you've really enabled people to understand what you do, see it in a very compelling way, and then should they choose to take action, they move forward with it. But I love that management is saying, like, let's keep going with this. Let's carry the momentum forward instead of just saying, hey, remember that one time we did that cool dog video? That's great. Yeah,
you're exactly right. And I mean, that speaks to why I love working at this company. I mean, I previously had worked, for an ad agency in New York. My undergraduate degree was in advertising. And, I thought that would be my career, is working on creative projects on the agency side. But I had an opportunity to work for, this tech company, so this is client side, with this kind of this promise of creative autonomy to an extent. And I really got to hand it to the leadership team, all the way up, the executive leadership team, that they absolutely trust our marketing and specifically the creative team to be able to come up with these wild ideas. And they let us do it. It's a culture of experimentation. They let us try these little things, and, not all of them are going to be successes, but they trust that, we're going to come up with ideas like this that out of nowhere, we're all of a sudden, over 100 million views with. No one could have guessed that. And to your point about the lead capture form, it's a really great point. I mean, I can't say that we could have always done this campaign. Like, when I first joined 5 years ago, we probably couldn't have afforded to spend time on something that doesn't have as direct line to revenue. Like you said, this is a little bit more of a dotted line, which is very true. Mm-hmm. But even still, even at the size we're at now, most companies, I think their inclination is to throw in as many calls to action as possible, which makes a ton of sense in theory. But part of the charm of this advertisement is that it's not that. It's not the in your face, sign up now, speak with a sales rep. And we're seeing the results, not just in the views themselves, But I mean, anecdotally, talking to the sales rep, they talk all the time about how they're on calls and people will reference this campaign. And so that's enough for leadership. That's enough for me. And sometimes you have to take that risk, knowing that, like, you know, the law of numbers here, if you go viral in this case, you don't need the lead form. Like you'll get people coming, you'll hear people referencing the campaign. And that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. If you're somebody who's considering, okay, what visual tool can I use to map all of these things that I'm thinking of? And then I think back, oh yeah, that incredible video that I watched, or, you know, of course, watching the incredible video might prompt you to think, you know, where they previously were in that kind of the quadrant of the market where they weren't even thinking about starting to visually map things. It's like, well, I really like how they did that. I wish we could do that for our own processes, and then start to kind of go down a path that they never would have originally. So I think, yeah, this is really outside of the box creative thinking. That's exactly right.
That quadrant you're speaking of is kind of why we do these campaigns, because we view that there are two kinds of people here. There are people that are diagrammers. They use other diagramming products like maybe Microsoft Visio, or they know that creation of a diagram is a part of their process, that they're used to doing that. They visually think out, whether it's network diagramming in IT or sales process flows like, you know, you were working on. People that know about diagramming, and then there's the people that are not diagrammers. That's not part of their process, but they could definitely be benefited by that. And so the ad campaign is probably more for those people when they look at it thinking, oh, I could definitely use diagramming as part of my, you know, whatever workflow that, you know, whatever I do at work, I could diagram. I'd be benefited by diagramming. And so that's kind of who we were trying to get. And that's where we found a lot of our success, is the people that have kind of the non-diagrammers who could be benefited. And that's who we find discovering Lucidchart through these ads.
Oh, that's great. Well, Stauffer, this is some really, really cool stuff you guys have put together. Your team there for getting it done, and then continuing to scale that success beyond just that first initial video. I think there's so much temptation to just sit back on your laurels and think, oh, what a great campaign, you know, hurrah for us, and not continue that momentum. So, we'll be continuing to watch the success of Lucidchart, and especially through these campaigns. So
thanks.
If people want to follow you in particular, they want to learn more from your experience. I know you're on LinkedIn. Is there anywhere that you particularly share these lessons? I think you have some great articles on there.
Yes. I do write occasionally on LinkedIn, whether in posts or the actual kind of article publishing kind of system. So find me, David Stauffer, on LinkedIn. You know, try and connect with me. I'll accept your connection. Occasionally, I will be sharing this on Twitter as well. So at the DStauff, so DSTAUFF. And so you'll see that as well as, admittedly, I might tweet about the Sacramento Kings. So be prepared about that as well. And Rex, maybe one question for you before we totally wrap up here is, do you have any topic ideas for our next flowchart video? Something you like that you'd like us to see as a topic of one of these videos?
Oh man, that's a great question. I love the music ones. Those have been some of my favorite. Oh. I actually have like a song running in my head whose name I've forgotten, but whose flowchart I can actually see in my mind as we're sitting here chatting. I'll have to send you over some, like, I'm thinking let's go way back, like Beach Boys, all the different islands that they're jumping to in one of their songs. I'll send you some stuff. This would be great.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. Like I said, we try to get ideas everywhere, so I figured I'd try to get something out of you.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure the audience will have plenty of ideas for you, and they can tweet you or find you on LinkedIn. So excited to share this with the listeners.
Awesome. Thanks, Rex.
There are lots of ways to build a community, and we've chosen to build the B2B growth community through this podcast. But because of the way podcasts work, it's really hard to engage with our listeners. And without engagement, it's tough to build a great community. So here's what we've decided to do. We're organizing small dinners across the country with our listeners and guests. No sales pitches, no agenda, just great conversations with like-minded people. We'll talk business, we'll talk family, we'll talk goals and dreams. We'll build friendships. So if you'd like to be a part of a B2B growth dinner in a city near you, go to b2bgrowthdinners.com. That's b2bgrowthdinners.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.